Have you ever seen an organization, maybe your own, struggle to adapt? React to market changes, or maybe keep missing growth targets because it just can't find, or keep the right people.
I think that all the time.
And often the sort of invisible reason behind it is this disconnect, a gap between the people strategy and the core business strategy.
Absolutely.
So today we're diving deep into exactly that. How a truly strategic approach to human capital, well, it transforms HR, turns it from this reactive cost center into the engine that really drives organizational resilience and ultimately competitive advantage. Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take complex sources, distill them down into hopefully surprising insights, and give you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. Our focus today is specifically the SPHR deep dive. We're drawing heavily from a pretty comprehensive study guide on strategic human resource planning, SHRP, which is designed for the Senior Professional in Human Resources certification.
Right, the SPHR.
Yeah. Our mission here is to really illuminate how HR isn't just, supporting the business anymore, it's shaping it.
And by the end of this deep dive, you'll really get the fundamental shift. That move from traditional HR to a genuinely strategic human resource management approach.
Okay.
We'll unpack the essential building blocks, that iterative 5-step process of SHRP, and, crucially, why aligning HR with the overall business strategy, well, it isn't just nice to have, it's actually imperative for long-term success.
Imperative, yeah.
We'll also cover how senior HR leaders, the SPHRs, analyze workforce capabilities, forecast future needs, navigate the complex world of legal compliance.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Both domestically and globally.
Fair.
And importantly, how strategic HR planning directly drives employee retention. We'll look at some tangible real-world initiatives, too.
Okay, let's unpack this then. For senior HR pros, SPHRs, the difference between, say, human resource planning, HRP, and strategic human resource management, SHRM, it's not just words, right?
Not at all.
We all know HRP is, making sure you have enough people for future needs, typically looking out, 1 to 5 years?
Right, the basics. But what's really transformative, especially from an SPHR viewpoint, is understanding SHRM. What's fascinating here is that SHRM is about proactively aligning HR capabilities directly with your business's long-term strategic objectives.
Proactively. Okay.
Yeah, it moves HR way beyond just recruitment or payroll. Think about it. It's integrating HR practices, like how you hire, your promotion paths, reward systems, or even designing organizational structures specifically to achieve a competitive advantage.
So it's architecture almost.
Exactly. This represents a fundamental shift for HR, moving from just administrative support to becoming a true strategic business partner, leveraging that human capital as a strategic asset for resilience.
Okay, so if we're shifting from admin to strategic, what are the core components, the essential building blocks of this strategic human resource planning?
Right, and these aren't just tasks, like you said. They're more like the strategic muscle groups of modern HR.
Muscle groups, I like that.
Yeah. First, there's talent acquisition and retention. And this isn't just filling open roles reactively.
Yeah.
It's about proactive pipeline development. A lot of companies miss this. They react to immediate needs instead of forecasting, say, 12, 18 months out to build that competitive talent edge.
Okay, what else?
Then you have learning and development, really equipping your workforce with skills for tomorrow, not just today. Think upskilling, reskilling, initiatives that directly tackle strategic skill gaps.
Makes sense.
Performance management, going beyond just the annual review, it needs to be a continuous dialogue, ensuring individual efforts line up with strategic goals.
Constantly aligning.
Exactly. Then workforce planning and forecasting. This is where you proactively predict future talent needs, both the number of people and, crucially, the kinds of skills needed for sustainable growth.
Right, the quality aspects.
Absolutely. Succession planning, identifying and prepping internal talent for those critical roles. This ensures business continuity, avoids those costly leadership gaps.
Very important.
And workforce diversity and inclusion. Actively fostering an inclusive workplace isn't just a compliance checkbox anymore.
No, it's strategic.
It's a strategic imperative. It fuels innovation, broadens market appeal. It's huge.
Okay, so those are the core components, the muscle groups.
Yeah.
But they don't work in isolation.
Not at all. They're deeply interconnected. They function within a systematic iterative cycle. And that brings us neatly to the strategic 5-step SHRP process.
Right, and it's dynamic, like a roadmap, not some static checklist you just tick off.
Precisely.
So, step 1, analyzing current capacity. This is a deep dive into your existing workforce, right? Their skills, engagement, turnover rates.
hmm And also external factors, market trends, what's happening out there.
So it's like taking a really thorough inventory of your internal talent while also scouting the external landscape.
You got it. Then, step 2, forecasting future needs. This is often the trickiest part.
I bet.
Where you anticipate what kind of workforce you'll need based on, say, projected business growth, tech shifts, market demands. It's like trying to predict a complex weather forecast for your talent pipeline.
Okay. Step 3.
Step 3, gap analysis. Simple concept, hard execution. Once you know your current state and your future needs, you identify the discrepancies. Where are the gaps?
In roles, skills, capabilities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where the real strategic work kicks in.
Which leads to step 4, strategy development.
Right. With those gaps identified, you formulate specific HR action plans. This could mean targeted talent initiatives, maybe new L&D programs, revised recruitment strategies. It's about building the bridge across those gaps.
Makes sense. And finally,
Step 5, implementation and monitoring. And this isn't just rolling out the plans and hoping for the best.
oh, it's ongoing.
It's a continuous cycle: execution, communication, and constant assessment. You track progress, measure effectiveness, make adjustments. Agility here is absolutely key. SHRP is never really done.
That iterative nature seems critical. It really underlines why SHRP is so vital for organizational success.
It really is. It's how HR makes that leap. From being seen as just a cost center to being a direct contributor to profitability, moving beyond old school HR metrics to focusing squarely on business KPIs.
Right.
And that imperative for HR business strategy alignment, you just can't overstate it. Look at Salesforce, for instance, their whole Ohana culture.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
It's not just a fluffy buzzword. It's a deliberate strategic choice. They integrate these values of family and community to directly boost teamwork, employee well-being, and that translates into a tangible competitive edge through better retention and productivity.
That's a powerful example of it working in practice.
Yeah.
So how do senior HR leaders, the SPHRs, actually achieve this critical alignment day to day?
Well, it really starts with deeply understanding the business goals and the KPIs. HR needs to genuinely grasp the company's big picture objectives like revenue growth, market share, and then translate those into actionable HR KPIs. Things like productivity per team member or the ROI on specific training programs. This takes serious analytical skills and, frankly, solid business acumen.
Absolutely. You can't just stay in the HR silo. And it demands cross-functional collaboration, doesn't it?
Oh, completely. We're talking close cooperation with the C-suite, with other department heads, establishing those cross-functional planning processes, maintaining really clear, consistent communication so everyone's bought in and understands the why.
Right, getting buy-in.
And finally, it's about integrating HR metrics with business outcomes. This is where you shift from just reporting on what happened last quarter.
Looking backwards.
Exactly. To using data like turnover rates, cost per hire, engagement scores for predictive analytics. Forecasting future challenges and opportunities based on the data.
So let's dig into that analysis part. When you're analyzing your present employees, that workforce supply analysis, you're essentially taking stock of your internal talent.
Precisely. And a really powerful tool here is a skills inventory. Think of it this way. It helps you see your workforce not just as a line item cost, but as a living asset on your balance sheet, something you can measure and strategically deploy. Getting that 360-degree view of skills, responsibilities, tasks.
That reframing as an asset is key.
It is. And this is where you proactively identify strengths and, crucially, the gaps. Competency mapping helps you compare current skills against what you actually need for peak performance or future roles.
And what about experienced people leaving?
That's where knowledge loss risk assessments become vital, especially with retiring employees. You need to ensure that critical institutional knowledge gets transferred, preventing those really costly brain drains. It's all about developing your internal talent pools, ideally favoring a grow-your-own strategy for future leaders.
Okay, so you know your supply. Now you need to forecast demand, workforce demand analysis. You mentioned quantitative and qualitative methods.
That's right. On the quantitative side, you've got tools like trend analysis, using past data turnover, growth trajectory, skill shifts to predict future demands. But you have to interpret that data within the broader business context.
Right, data isn't everything on its own.
No. Then there's workload analysis, or work study techniques, estimating needs based on the anticipated volume of work, linking labor directly to operational output and efficiency.
Okay.
And for the really data-savvy, model-based regression analysis, It's sophisticated, using statistical models to predict demand by finding relationships between business variables like sales volume versus labor requirements. It's basically predictive analytics in action.
Using stats to forecast talent, interesting, but what if the data isn't there or you need to move fast?
That's where qualitative methods are invaluable. This raises an important question. How do we get the most robust forecasts? And the answer is usually by integrating quantitative data with these qualitative insights. Data provides the empirical foundation, but human judgment adds context, nuance, foresight.
So what are some of those qualitative methods?
Well, there's managerial judgment. Simply relying on the insights of experienced managers about their team's needs. Tapping into that tacit knowledge.
Makes sense.
Then the Delphi technique. It's more structured using anonymous questionnaires sent to experts, iterating until you reach a consensus. It helps mitigate things like the halo effect or one loud voice dominating.
Ah, anonymous feedback.
Exactly. And similarly, the nominal group technique, NGT. It's a structured brainstorming process. Silent idea generation, round-robin sharing, discussion, then prioritization. It ensures everyone participates equally and avoids some common groupthink problems.
Okay, so you've done the analysis, identified the gaps, maybe used some forecasting. Now you actually have to implement the plans, the gap closure strategies.
Right, the rubber meets the road. This involves developing holistic talent management strategies covering that entire employee lifecycle, from attracting candidates to offboarding.
The whole journey.
The whole journey. And employee engagement and development programs. These aren't just perks. They're strategic tools for upskilling, reskilling, mentoring, recognition, all directly tied to keeping your best people.
Retention, yeah.
It also means designing smart recruitment and selection strategies that are proactive, analyzing the labor market, offering competitive packages, and ensuring your compensation and benefits are strategically aligned. We saw in one case how just fixing an outdated PTO policy significantly boosted morale and retention. People stopped coming in sick just to hoard vacation days.
Little things can make a big difference.
Yeah.
What about best practices for actually rolling these plans out?
Good question. Data-driven decision-making is crucial. Using real-time HR metrics and analytics, not just gut feelings, technology integration is pretty much non-negotiable now. HR software automates routine tasks, onboarding, performance tracking, applicant tracking, freeing up your team for more strategic work.
Let technology do the heavy lifting.
Exactly. Communication and stakeholder involvement are also critical. Clear roles, cross-functional teamwork, actively listening to employee feedback. That's how you get buy-in and reduce resistance to change.
Involve people in the process.
Absolutely. And finally, continuous monitoring and adjustment. Remember, HR plans aren't static. They need regular assessment, tweaking, and even contingency plans for when things inevitably change.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We have to talk about the non-negotiable part. Legal compliance. For an SPHR, this is huge.
It's massive. And it's not just about knowing the laws. It's about navigating this minefield of potential strategic risks. Take equal employment opportunity, EEO laws.
Right.
Beyond basic anti-discrimination, the real SPHR challenge today might be navigating bias in, say, AI hiring tools, or ensuring pay equity practices that can withstand intense scrutiny.
The tech adds complexity.
For sure. And then there's wage and hour compliance, mostly under the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, in the U.S. A single mistake in classifying an independent contractor versus an employee that can lead to multi-million-dollar penalties and completely derail your talent strategy. These are major strategic risks, not just admin errors.
Absolutely. And it gets even more complex globally, right?
Oh, exponentially.
Yeah.
Think about the variances in employment laws. The U.S. has no federal paid time off mandate, but Germany requires 20 days paid vacation plus health insurance.
Big difference.
Huge. Minimum wage varies wildly country to country, even state to state within India. Termination laws. The U.S. is mostly at will, but try that in Brazil or France without a justified reason and significant severance. You're in trouble.
So you need local expertise.
You absolutely need a nuanced approach, sort of standardized global policies with local flexibility.
Got it. What else globally?
Data protection regulations are another huge one. Strict laws like GDPR in the EU. Fines can be up to 4% of a company's global annual revenue for mishandling employee data.
Wow, 4%.
Yeah, and you have similar strict laws emerging, like in California, CCPA, and China, PIPL. This isn't just about privacy checkboxes. It requires really robust data governance systems. The bottom line is maintaining consistent global HR practices while adapting locally, proactively managing risk, especially during expansion.
That really highlights the strategic weight on an SPHR shoulders. It brings us to the core SPHR perspective on HR planning.
Exactly. The SPHR certification itself is designed for senior HR leaders focused on strategic planning and policy development,
Sure.
not just ticking boxes on implementation.
Right, it's bigger picture.
It's about influencing the overall organizational strategy, the vision, the values, even ethical conduct. And SPHR formulates HR initiatives, budgets, business plans that are genuinely, deeply aligned with the company's strategic plan. The role is all about foresight, shaping the future workforce, leveraging human capital as that strategic asset we talked about.
And what competencies does that require, besides knowing the law inside out?
Well, a huge one is business acumen and critical evaluation. An SPHR must be able to interpret business metrics, KPIs, financials, budgets. They need to assess internal and external factors impacting the business. It demands real business literacy, not just HR knowledge.
You have to speak the language of business.
You do. Plus, proficiency in data analysis and predictive analytics for HR, identifying the right HR metrics, analyzing them, developing new ones, and crucially, applying predictive analytics to forecast needs and challenges. The SPHR drives performance and change, actively linking HR to business goals. They're often leading digital transformations, optimizing workflows. They're a change agent.
A change agent, I like that. Now, exams like the SPHR often highlight common mistakes. What are some common pitfalls in strategic HR planning that people should watch out for?
Good point. One big one is underestimating proactive culture management. When the values written on the wall don't match the reality on the ground, that disconnect can kill any strategic plan.
Culture eats strategy for breakfast, right?
That's the saying. Another is imperfect forecasting and failing to adapt to rapid technological changes. It just highlights that need for flexibility and agility in your plans. You can't set it and forget it.
No.
Many organizations also stumble by neglecting long-term strategic goals. They get so caught up in the day-to-day fires that they lose sight of the bigger picture.
Fighting fires instead of building fire breaks.
Well put. And often, poor documentation and data management just undermine the whole data-driven approach. Then there's resistance to change from employees, which needs proactive change management, clear communication, not just top-down mandate.
How to bring people along.
And a major strategic misstep is overlooking diversity and inclusion in the planning phase. It's not just wrong, it stifles innovation and limits your talent pool. Avoiding these pitfalls is really key.
Okay, so assuming you avoid the pitfalls and implement well, this effective HR planning should lead to better retention, right? What are some key retention tools that stem from good SHRP?
Absolutely. Retention is a major outcome. Think about professional development and career advancement opportunities. Research consistently shows employees, something like 94%, say they'd stay longer if their company invested in their growth upskilling, mentoring, tuition aid.
That's a huge number.
It is. Effective onboarding processes are also crucial. Going beyond paperwork to really integrate new hires into the culture. Poor onboarding is a recipe for early turnover.
First impressions matter.
They really do. And here's a big one, managerial impact and feedback mechanisms. You know the saying, people leave managers, not companies.
So true.
So equipping managers with the right skills and providing regular, maybe anonymous, feedback tools is vital. Also, employee appreciation and recognition programs. Seems basic, but something like 2/3 of employees say they'd quit if they felt unappreciated. Consistency and sincerity matter there.
Feeling valued.
Exactly. And increasingly, flexible working arrangements and work-life balance, remote, hybrid, flexible hours, and comprehensive benefits and mental health support. Things like wellness stipends or employee assistance programs, EAPs. They show a holistic investment in well-being, reducing burnout, boosting engagement, all directly flowing from strategic planning.
It all ties together. Did the source mention any specific examples?
Yeah, it touched on a real-world case study involving integrating a merged workforce. The smaller acquired company had basically zero strategic HR, leading to major challenges, different employee needs, serious inclusion issues.
Like what?
Things like inappropriate comments, no clear promotion paths, no lactation room, and English-only policy causing issues, even derogatory remarks about religious attire like turbans, plus outdated PTO policies causing resentment.
Wow, a real mess.
It was, but they applied SHRP principles, analyzed the current state, did a gap analysis, then developed targeted strategies for talent management, engagement, D&I, and retention to turn things around. She shows how these steps work in a complex, real situation.
That really brings it home. So, wrapping this up, what's the core message here?
The core message is that strategic human resource planning, SHRP, isn't just an HR function anymore. It's really a cornerstone of modern organizational success. It's what transforms HR into that proactive, value-adding business partner. Absolutely essential for agility, competitiveness, and long-term sustainability in this crazy dynamic world.
Couldn't agree more.
So to quickly recap the key takeaways for you, we've seen that fundamental shift from traditional admin HR to strategic HR. We walked through the systematic yet iterative SHRP process. We talked about the absolute imperative of aligning HR with business objectives, translating business KPIs into HR metrics. We touched on the non-negotiable complexity of legal compliance, both at home and globally, and we highlighted the SPHR's critical role as a business strategist and, yes, a change agent.
Okay, so to empower you, the listener, to actually apply these insights, here's some final recommendations drawn straight from the source material, really aimed at senior HR professionals.
Yeah, these are good.
First, cultivate business acumen. Always be deepening your understanding of your organization's finances, market position, strategic goals. This informs every HR decision.
Absolutely critical.
Second, champion data-driven decisions. Invest in HR tech and analytics. Use data for predictive forecasting, not just looking in the rearview mirror.
Use data smartly.
Third, prioritize strategic alignment. Explicitly link every single HR policy and program back to the overarching business strategy. Foster that cross-functional collaboration we talked about.
Connect the dots.
Fourth, embrace agility and adaptability. Treat HR plans as living documents. Building flexibility, have contingency measures ready to respond to change.
Be ready to pivot.
Fifth, lead change management. Proactively manage organizational change. Clear communication, involve employees. Don't just dictate.
Bring people with you.
Sixth, ensure proactive compliance. Maintain that expert-level understanding of all applicable labor laws, domestic and global. Mitigate those strategic risks.
Know the rules everywhere.
And finally, invest in holistic talent management. Develop comprehensive strategies covering the entire employee lifecycle: acquisition, onboarding, continuous development, recognition, well-being, the whole package.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, SHRP isn't just about managing people. It's really about building your organization's capacity to thrive, even amidst all the uncertainty and disruption out there. It's about ensuring that your human capital becomes a decisive competitive advantage.
So here's a final thought for you to consider as you think about the future of work in your own organization. How might a truly strategic approach to human capital be the ultimate differentiator, not just for HR, but for the entire business?